I guess the first thing I'd just leave it open to you and get your sense of what's going to happen here in the next 3 days. Are you optimistic? Do you think the deal will get done?
I think there's a very good chance. We've just heard that the meeting went well with the president and the leadership of both sides. That Harry Reid, the majority leader, and Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader, are going to work to put together a package and try to file it, I think, within a day. And I also understand that the president has called for an up and down vote on the extension of unemployment insurance and the extension of tax breaks for the middle class, those earning less than $250,000. And I think it's absolutely essential that we be accountable on both of those issues.
What about on the government cuts? There's a substantial amount of cuts coming. Are any of those troubling to you? Do you see a need to put an up and down vote on any of those?
Absolutely troubled by the sequestration. It's this whole deal falls on the backs of working people, and it doesn't close a single loophole for the best off. So that is deeply troubling. I assume that there will be pieces of the package that the majority and minority leader will put together will address that, but I'll have to see the entire package. But I want to be really clear on this point. We must not allow unemployment insurance to just simply end on January 1st. We have 29 to 30,000 Oregonians who will be cut off right in the middle of the unemployment tier they're in. One day they have unemployment, the next day they don't. I think we have about another 10,000 that would lose their unemployment insurance with 30 days. Yes, we need to wind down the extended unemployment as unemployment drops, but just to suddenly cut 30,000 and maybe another 10,000 for a total of 40,000 Oregon families off at the knees not only affects those families but the communities they live in. It'd be a huge mistake. We can't allow that to happen.
This isn't a big defense state, but what about the cuts to the defense budget as well as some other sequestration cuts that affect education? Do you see any room there for some programs to be retained that would otherwise be cut?
There are certainly a lot of areas in the defense budget that need to be cut. We need to wind down and end this war in Afghanistan. The Senate just weighed in, voted a majority, a substantial majority, including 13 Republicans, to tell the president, end this war and if possible accelerate your schedule. That was my amendment. I mean, that's an area where we're spending $120 billion a year. If that funding was going a third into the deficit, a third into education, and a third into infrastructure, we'd be creating jobs and reducing our debt, so our deficit. So that would be, there's other programs like that in defense where we're overextended. We need to cut back and apply ourselves to education, infrastructure, and reducing the deficit.
One more question for you before we let you go. We hear from a lot of people who, I don't know how well they're following this issue, how closely, but we do hear this overall sentiment of get something done, work together, just find a resolution. How do you respond when you hear that sentiment expressed from constituents? They just want you to get something done and work together.
They're absolutely right. This has been an unacceptable game of chicken with folks posturing before television cameras rather than working on a deal. We should have had a lot of provisions voted on the floor of the Senate. The Senate filibuster, which has basically turned the Senate into a broken institution. And so I'm doing all that I can to fix the filibuster. I know that's a separate debate, but when everything needs a supermajority, you end up in a situation where everyone can hold everyone hostage. You just can't move forward. So we need to change that. We need to show that the Senate can be restored as a body that can deliberate on issues and can decide issues.
Anything else you'd like to add? Any other comments?
I think that over this holiday season, we have so many families that are struggling, and many of those families are going to be hit very hard by the additional sequestration cuts and the loss of unemployment benefits, and certainly by the increase in taxes in terms of the payroll taxes that occur if those pieces don't get addressed. And so we have a lot of work to do, and a lot of people are counting on us to get it done.
Is it acceptable, one more question if I can, is it acceptable to your colleagues who are not voting this to see middle class taxes rise? Is that acceptable to them, the ones who are not working at an agreement?
Well, this is where I think it's important that the president called for an up-down vote on extending the tax breaks to the middle class, those earning less than $250,000. You know, in Oregon, $250,000 is actually a pretty good salary. Very few Oregonians reach anything close to that. So we're talking about 98% of the families getting the extension of the tax cuts. That feels right. Those who are best out at the upper end would still get the benefits of the tax cuts on the first $250 that they earn, but they should be paying a fair share on the amount over that. And certainly we need to come together and recognize that there's programs that need to be shut down. There's also breaks for the best off that need to be shut down.
Thanks for your time, Senator.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Thanks.